What percent chance does XRP go to $1,000 in 2026? I think it'll be more than that in 2026 if everything kind of pans out the way that I think it's going to go. I know this price target sounds wildly crazy to a lot of people. We talked about dark pools. I put out a video on that the other day. We've talked about all the circumstances in which supply and demand dynamics drive price substantially higher for XRP. We've talked about the reverse carry trade and treasuries and tether and the back end of the stock market and unrealized losses and all the things that are literally set up ready to go when this thing is ready. What are they waiting on? Maybe they're waiting on a star. Maybe they're waiting on something else. I don't know what it is, but they're waiting on something, and they've stacked the deck for this thing to kick off and go to very high prices when it's time. Personally, I think very high percentage chance that it's probably higher than that in 2026.
Did you catch that? This isn't speculation. This is mathematics. When two major banks need to settle a $50 million transaction through XRP, the liquidity pool has to be deep enough to absorb that trade without sending the price into chaos. And here's what Wall Street doesn't want you to understand right now. Ripple doesn't just want XRP to be valuable, they need it to be. This isn't about making holders rich, although that's exactly what's coming. This is about the fundamental architecture of the entire network. Institutional adoption at scale requires higher prices. The system literally cannot function at full capacity, with XRP sitting at single digits. Think about that for a second. Now, while Bitcoin maxes are losing sleep over what's coming, XRP holders might be sitting on the most secure digital asset in existence. Experts are now revealing that only 0.03% of XRP's total supply is vulnerable to quantum computing threats. Let that sink in. Compare that to Bitcoin, where an estimated 35% of the entire supply could be at risk when quantum computers reach critical capability. We're talking about a 1,000-fold difference in exposure. This isn't FUD against Bitcoin. This is cold hard analysis. While other communities are scrambling to figure out quantum-resistant solutions, XRP was architected with security fundamentals that are proving to be decades ahead of the competition. The institutions doing their due diligence, they're seeing these numbers, and they're drawing their own conclusions about which digital asset belongs in their treasury. This is the moment everything changes. Crypto has just been officially recognized as the 7th major liquid investable asset class on the planet. Michael Higgins from Ripple Prime is highlighting what this actually means. Cryptocurrency now sits alongside equities, credit, and rates, commodities, real estate, and cash as a legitimate institutional allocation category. This isn't some crypto Twitter hopium. This is traditional finance formally acknowledging that digital assets have arrived. And here's where it gets absolutely massive for XRP holders specifically. Ripple's acquisition of Hidden Road just transformed the bridge between traditional finance and the XRP ledger into a superhighway. The infrastructure is being built right now. Listen to what Michael Higgins reveals about this seismic shift. Watch what Michael Higgins said next.
And do so in conjunction with the governments and the global regulators. And so at Hidden Road, we've been pretty consistent with this from the start that we think crypto is the 7th liquid investable asset class. It's encouraging. There's lots of folks now referring to it in the same way. Investors, retail and institutional, all have their money invested in 6 asset classes: equities, credit, rates, commodities, real estate, and cash. And crypto is definitely the 7th. And if that is happening, then its trading and investment mechanics will migrate towards best practices trailblazed by the other asset classes. And so this will include best practices in financial transparency, clearing.
The MicroStrategy playbook just got a massive upgrade. And this is where corporate treasuries are. Heading next, Doppler Finance is breaking down the evolution of digital asset treasuries. And what they're revealing should have every XRP holder paying close attention. Phase 1 was accumulation, companies simply buying and holding crypto on their balance sheets. But that was just the beginning. Phase 2 introduces yield generation, putting those digital assets to work. And Phase 3? This is where it gets revolutionary. Programmatic on-chain policies that automate treasury management through smart contracts. We're watching the emergence of an entirely new financial infrastructure being built in real time. The companies that understand this evolution aren't just holding crypto anymore. They're integrating it into the core fabric of their financial operations. Watch how this three-phase transformation is reshaping corporate finance. Watch what Doppler Finance said next. Now here's where we need to talk about what's really possible for XRP and why the skeptics are about to be proven spectacularly wrong. The theory that's been circulating about XRP reaching 3 to 4 digit valuations, it's not fantasy. It's becoming increasingly inevitable based on the institutional infrastructure being deployed right now. And here's what makes this even more explosive. This trajectory doesn't even require the regulatory clarity that everyone's been waiting for. The mechanisms are already in motion. The liquidity requirements we discussed at the beginning of this video, the quantum security advantage, the recognition as a major asset class, the corporate treasury evolution, all of these forces are converging on XRP simultaneously. The math doesn't lie. When institutions need to settle billions in transactions daily through a bridge currency, the price must reflect that utility. Listen to what's being predicted about this, inevitable price discovery. Watch this clip.
There are policies in place and policies automatically executed on-chain, and that's going to be quite interesting going forward.
Now here's where we need to talk about what's really possible for XRP, and why the skeptics are about to be proven spectacularly wrong. The theory that's been circulating about XRP reaching 3 to 4 digit valuations, it's not fantasy. It's becoming increasingly inevitable based on the institutional infrastructure being deployed right now. And here's what makes this even more explosive. This trajectory doesn't even require the regulatory clarity that everyone's been waiting for. The mechanisms are already in motion. The liquidity requirements we discussed at the beginning of this video, the quantum security advantage, the recognition as a major asset class, the corporate treasury evolution. All of these forces are converging on XRP simultaneously. The math doesn't lie. When institutions need to settle billions in transactions daily through a bridge currency, the price must reflect that utility. Listen to what's being predicted about this, inevitable price discovery. Watch this clip.
Sandra, we got to ask just about your view of this and where it falls in terms of timeline. I'm just curious where you think, or if you think this will get passed. If you do, what is the timeline of it?
So I'd like to reference something called congressional math. And when you look at, and those in DC know what I'm talking about.
I don't know if I learned that in school. What is it?
I know, right? I think everyone should actually be taught that. So there's only a limited number of time, let's just say hypothetically, the major sticking points do get worked out. The draft that's currently sitting on the Senate side, by the way, there's several, not just the one, but there's one that's the Senate Banking Committee is working on, that needs to then pass through the Senate, and it needs to actually get floor time to debate. And frankly, if you look at the math on the calendar, it's limited. And you've got a number of other priorities that have now taken, first place or second place now. And so the likelihood of anything passing anytime soon, I would say, go to the congressional calendar and look at the map.
So anytime soon, meaning, okay, maybe it doesn't happen this spring. Does it happen like 2026? Does it happen? Does it happen before the midterms?
Yeah. I think realistically, we have advisors who sit on the Hill every single day and let us know what they think. We're hearing everything from, if we're lucky, maybe July, maybe later than that.
Family, we are witnessing something that happens maybe once in a generation. The convergence of institutional necessity, technological superiority, and regulatory momentum all pointing toward one asset. XRP isn't just another cryptocurrency hoping for adoption. It's becoming the backbone of a new financial system that requires higher valuations to function properly. The banks need it. The corporations need it. The infrastructure is being built around it right now while most people are still sleeping on it. Every piece of evidence we covered today, the liquidity mathematics, the quantum security, the asset class recognition, the treasury evolution, the price predictions, they all tell the same story. This is the accumulation phase before the world wakes up to what's actually happening. If you're watching this channel, you're not just early, you're positioned for generational wealth. Like and subscribe if you're holding strong through this journey. Drop a comment below and tell me, are you ready for triple digits? Because ready or not, it's coming.